So I spared you a lot of time me having to troubleshoot that. I've it's a matter of the way the lists are stated. So we have these list of lists, the 4 point by 4 point array. Now these aren't the adaptive points. This is just the layout of the array. And if we flatten those, we're going to get better performance because our other coordinate system is already flattened. So there's only 10 points in the array at the base level, so there's not list of list. So if I go back up here now and look at this list, that's a flattened array. Even though we have more points, you'll notice what happens when we connect this up now. So we're feeding two equal list of hierarchy together, and it makes all 16 points, and then it only populates them with the 11 polygons that we have. So that corrects that problem for us. And if we now looked out to adding this adaptive component in Revit, you'll notice now that we have the right amount. Now, I did make one other change while I was troubleshooting this, and it probably might show up in yours, is this other list needed flattening also. So I had an error here at this, and I'll back this out. This is how your file is corrected. It wasn't flattened here. So if I add this in, this is going to turn yellow. And that's because our two lists are not equal to each other. This list coming in is a list of 11 lists, and this list coming in is a list of a nested list. So there's two extra lists, and you can see that in the highlighting here. Let me just zoom in if that's not really clear. So we added this extra level of list to it. And so the way to alleviate that is to flatten that. So if we look over here at this list now, I've gone ahead and if I leave this unconnected, let's just look at what the list looks like. It's very flat. It's so flat that we can no longer distinguish the points, the 1, 2, 3 points. But if I set this amount of flattening to 1, I still preserve the list of the individual points. So this is a list flattening that we want to do for that one in order to feed two identical data sets in here. So this now matches, that's one list of 3 points in each nested list. So I'm going to feed that in to here, and that corrects that function, and that allows Revit to then create all of the elements both in the structure itself and in the flat components. So let's take a look now at what we can do to actually dimension these and then see how these dimensions can actually work in a dynamic way. So I'm just going to grab and just dimension a few things here, pull off a few dimensions. Okay, so, and we can also do like an angular arc here. Now if we go back, I hopefully can remember this 21-foot number here. If we go back out to Dynamo and we change the height, and we have that set for 21, so that's actually 21 feet. We'll change this to 30. That run will start, and we'll go back over to Dynamo, and you'll notice now that this has redimensioned itself to 30 feet. So all of these components are live, which means any change we make on any of the shapes of these elements, they will be reflected in these drawings of the parts and pieces that are coming off of it. So these are the output drawings that could be used to create the wood components that would become the arcs or arches for this assembly. And if we add ribs, we'll take up more space here. So let's go back and just do this one more time. We'll go back to Dynamo, and we'll add the number of ribs. Let's add 14 ribs. And that should leave us one extra space after we run that. So it's going to go ahead and run. And you'll notice how that's populated it with our polygons. And now if we go back into Revit, we have all but one rib done. So we have our 15 ribs that we've created in our structure. So the final thing I'm going to do is just put together a couple of ideas about how I'd like to see this finish off as a presentation sheet, how we'll represent our work for handing in.